to disbursement, to repayment, and the rest of it. So, and to make it easy also for applicants, like I said, certain requirements for now will be stepped down. And happily, His Excellency the President has approved certain waivers, so which I believe can either become part of the new law, which may be retroactive, or become an executive order which will permit a departure from some of the requirements in the law. So for now, that is the much we can tell us, and we can also say that a chief executive will be appointed as well, as required. The law requires that a secretary be appointed, and like we said, there will be a reduced role of the central bank in this particular one. Maybe not more than the domiciliation of the funds in central bank, just like any other funds anyway. Even the Treasury single account that has been in operation since 2015, that will not be a departure from the norm as well. So that will be the first intervention that we'll have. So if we want further details on some of this, we can still provide. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
The Act provides, since we're talking to Central Bank, and I think at this point we're talking numbers, the Act provides that 1% of all federal revenue, all revenue, internally generated revenue, should be applied to the student loans. Have you done an analysis of what this 1% amounts to? And is this amount enough to cover for the student population we have in tertiary institutions in the country? How realistic is this 1%, and what would be your view on the kind of funding we should be considering for the student loans fund?
I'll be very, very the appropriate office to actually advise on that will be the office of the DG budget office. But figures around, we're not looking at the hundreds of billions from what 1% can amount to as it is. And like I said, I'll be cautious to put a number to this. And I know this is critical and necessary to be able to see where we go for the amendment. And that's why the amendment is critical. Because we may just assume that 1% will give us 500 billion. No, that may not be. And if we look at the inflow, the numbers which I don't have now, on that particular one, that is where we can actually extrapolate from. So we can still work out the numbers, and when we're proposing the amendment, we'll factor this one in, because presently now what we're even proposing, let me just even mention that, is that to avoid constitutional debacle, what we're looking at now is that it is federal government that is proposing it. So it may just well be that we will only be targeting the funds of the federal government, so that we do not have issues with local government and states suing and saying that no, it's your business, you should handle it, and that also further reduces the funds that will be available. Remember that the fund, if we go by the extant law now, the pool of funds is bigger. So, but constitutional issues, unless we have also constitutional discussions and we have political solution to this, and we have state key in and say we're ready to do X, Y, Z, we will have to be limited with what the law permits. So I may not be able to put number, on top of my head now. Like I said, unfortunately the budget office is not here. They will be able to tell us that and what numbers we'll be looking at. But we take that on board, that in the proposal that we have, in addition to what we are proposing here, we may just have to factor in the issue that you have mentioned now. Then also note something we have also noted, like the PS said when it was intervening, about the fact that under so many other laws, you already have funds being set aside from their earnings. So and that's why we are targeting taxes, custom revenue, and some other funds from the consolidated revenue fund of the federal government in the proposal. Thank you, Chair.
By implication, you are saying that funds will be meant for only federal universities, because you mentioned the fact that states and local governments may not agree to that. And if you won't agree for the deduction of your resources, that means the states, universities, and the rest.
Honorable, if I may just, with due respect, I'm only talking of funds, where funds will be coming from. But remember that every student either in private, public, state, federal, is primarily first a Nigerian, and this law is made for Nigerian. So discussions are still ongoing, so whether you are going to restrict it, so and this committee is not, we're not in the position to, that means our technical committee is not in a position to answer that, but we are aware that, as of the fact that all Nigerian students are Nigerians, and they are entitled to be taken care of. That's what we can. But I never said that it's only federal institution.
Listening to your well analyzed position of this act, well, it gives us hope in collaboration with what the PS said. But my question is one: are you sure by the next academic session, starting November, this program will commence?
With your support and the support of all stakeholders, and with the speed at which we are moving, I can tell you that even Saturdays, weekends, we're working. A visit to the site of the accommodation was carried out Friday and Saturday. So we are working around the clock to ensure that everything is put in place. Even if the mandate we have there, even if we have to sit under trees, this thing must run. What I can assure you from my position is the fact that everything necessary for this to start in the next academic session will be done, and this should commence. And again, sir, if I may just let us know, we can imagine how busy the chief of staff is, but it makes time to be involved, directly and through his aides to be involved in the activities of this committee every time, and his doors are open. So, and with such support, I believe that barring any drawback from anywhere, and I believe that such drawbacks would not be anywhere, given the involvement of Mr. President himself, that we should be able to kick off. I think from what I know, and from what the feelers and the feelings I get, we should be able to start. That is the mandate.
So you're telling Nigerians today that by November, this students' loans program will commence?
I'm telling Nigerians that all the technological issues necessary.
That's not the question. My brother from CBN. My colleague did say we are here to be specific. After 2 months, we cannot still come here with assumptions on being on the drawing board. We can't come here if by your assessment and you know the problem with us, Nigeria, we know the truth. The ability to own up to the truth and say it as it is our problem. Having sat on this committee, you've seen the bottlenecks, you've seen the challenges, and as you're sitting here by your own assessment, convincingly, you know whether this program is possible to commence by November or not. But for you to look at the Nigerians and tell them, this is the situation, is a problem. As a man that is sitting, playing a major role in the implementation of this program, are you telling Nigerians by November this program will commence? It's just a simple question. Forget whether technical, whether believing God. God has nothing to do here. It's within humans.
Everything revolves around God is number one, in everything. And we never even mention God. But what, from my assessment, from the role we are playing in the technical committee, I can tell Nigerians that with the interest and the support of the President and Commander-in-Chief of Nigerian Armed Forces, His Excellency Mr. President, that this is achievable for this to kickstart in this final quarter of 2023 with the support. We're working hard.
When I asked the first question, this is a follow-up, because you're talking about the process of selections and someone being eligible to access this fund. It's not going to be paperwork. It's going to be technologically based. That you're working within, this is August, and we have 2 months from now to have the database of all the students in your system, so that at the point someone is applying, what are the criteria to know you are putting in place to determine the eligibility of an applicant? What are the criteria you're putting in place? Secondly, you said you're going to look at the issue of a guarantor. And the law provides there must be a guarantor. Are you going to step down what the law says by your October projection?
The law is made for man. And if there's any institution that will be behind, that will be pushing, which is what the National Assembly is doing now. The House of Reps is already in the forefront in ensuring that this is achieved. I believe that honorable member maybe is a lawyer, and lawyers are supposed to be complied with before we have a seraph going to court that the law is not complied with. What we have presently is that we are on the verge of integrating with JAMB. Nobody in the university in Nigeria today, everybody is expected to go through JAMB, correct? So the database issue may not pose too much of a problem, so long as the institutions concerned, by the time we give them the portal, upload this. Yes, there may be technical issues, but something we should also know is this: the law did not say 100% of Nigerians who access the loan on the go at the beginning. With every project, every program will always have its teething problem. You will have to start pilot. So, for example, if we put the thing out there, if it is 1 million Nigerian students that are able to, well, assuming this, you may have bandwidth problem, you may have a network problem, you may have all this and that. Yes, but what we are trying to put in place is a scenario where you do not, a Nigerian student does not need to have an uncle in the office to have access. Okay? Because technology does not know tribe, does not know language, does not know anything. So that is why we are going through that route. But what we can tell, honorable member, is the fact that as soon as the portal is almost ready now, it is these stakeholders that will come on board first. Upload the database of your students. Because when a student comes on the portal, put his ID number, and again, maybe I should lead us a little bit into some of the technical issues at the committee stage. Deciding on a unique identifier that will be targeted earlier than that for our size. All right? You look at what is within your capacity to do. All right? Then you give yourself a small leverage, for externalities. To take care of externalities, things outside your control. You understand? So some of these things we're already working on. And what we can tell you is this. Our technical people are working. And when I mean technical people, not the committee, now I have a lawyer, but he's an IT person, leading this. So they are working on all this, and I can tell you that the kind of, if I can use the technical language, the kind of process flow that we're looking at is something that Nigeria
100% read, because our major interest is to see to the workability of the student's loan. So we will not mind to be recalled from recess to sit on this bill and amend it for this program to kickstart. On your part, with what you're telling us, and my prayers is that when we sit again, by first week of next month, the selection process for beneficiaries must have begun.
Like some of the members have mentioned, some technology bottlenecks. I wanted to go into the issue of, since it's a CBN concept, so to say, the issue of NISA, is it NISA they call it? The NISA loans for small businesses and what have you. We are aware that the recovery of these NISA loans is poor, because Nigerians take government a summit or a public hearing, if you like, for next week, Thursday, 24th of August, where we hope that other stakeholders in the education sector in the country will come in and share their own ideas and their views on how these student loans will work. We want to hear from the universities, we want to hear from polytechnics and colleges of education, we want to hear from ASU, I want to hear from the student groups themselves. Because we had a focal group discussion with the students. And one of the issues that they raised was the issue of their upkeep. So are we giving student loans to students and excluding the issue of upkeep? Can these issues be included in these loans? Can a percentage of the loan being disbursed be given as upkeep for students' welfare while in school? Because of course, you know, a student with a hungry stomach or a student who cannot transport himself from point A to point B cannot achieve the full benefit of his being in the university. So is this issue also in consideration? And if it is not, then maybe it also needs to be looked into. And finally, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, members of the press, the National Assembly is the arm of government that does appropriations. And you mentioned that with the current act as it is, you suggested that there could be a supplementary budget or allocation so that this scheme can start up, and as we move ahead with it, we plug in some of the loopholes and what have you. But we cannot propose a supplementary budget if we don't have an idea of what you think this student loan scheme will cost Nigeria. We cannot have an idea of how much to budget for this if we don't have information from the NUC or from ASU or whichever body is involved, or from JAM, to know how many students get into the federal universities or the public universities annually. What is the likely kind of budget we should be looking at? Are we looking at 500 billion? Are we looking at 1 trillion annually as an estimate based on the total student body that we have in the country? When we are able to have an idea of how much you think himself is unable to fix a time frame or fix a budget to implementing these student loans, which was the first act he signed into law when he became president, and it's almost 100 days in office. So please, we want to be sure that the time frame for implementing the Student Loans Act is realistic, it's not too long, can be achievable within the beginning of this next academic year, which for me I think is, we're in August, so you're talking about September. It's less than a few weeks to go. So how realistic is that? Is it feasible even this year at all? We are on recess. The National Assembly is on recess. We're resuming our recess in September.
Well, that's why I said let the gritty of the work. The number of the things they've done, they've not even presented to the committee yet. But the assurances I want to give you, based on what I see from where I sit, first, is that, one, no academic session in Nigeria is starting before September. Let me contextualize this. JAM 2023-2024 admissions are yet to start because a number of schools do what we call UTMEs. That is universal and what you post UTME. So the admissions, remember, because of the strike, apart from the private and some state universities, academic calendar have been moved back. So what we are saying, and that is what gives us comfort, and I want you to have that comfort too, that yes, it might not be 100% catchment, but the loan is going to start in the 2023-2024 academic session. Importantly, sir. Sorry?
Which starts when?
It can be October, it can be November, depending on the school. Yes.
Permanent Secretary, Minister of Education.
Yes, sir.
When is the next academic session in tertiary institutions?
It depends on the school. A number of schools are still admitting people for 2022 academic, 2022-2023. A number of schools are rolling into their third term. I can talk of the school for my daughter. She's in Unijos. They are starting the new session September, October. There are schools that, because of backlog, cannot start in October. And to get into any Nigerian university, if you do, JAM has two legs. If you do UTME with your school start, you do post-UTME. So most schools are going to start post-UTME from next 1 or 2 weeks. So for the new intakes, so what I'm saying is that between October and November, we still stand in good time. Let's not think that without this loan, Nigerians will not go to school. No. The loan is making Nigerians that are already in school, be in school easy, and those that, if you don't sit for JAMB, you cannot even get into a university. If you don't fill direct entry form for JAMB, you can't get into a Nigerian university. So, with all these things in place, we are giving you comfort, and once the committee finishes and comes to the main committee, they fine-tuned dotted their I's and crossed their T's, then we revert to the National Assembly with a clean bill. So from where I sit, I know, yes, we can start this loan 2023-2024 academic session, honorable members.
May I plead that government be allowed to implement what the extant laws have provided. And like I said, we know that the implementation of this act will actually disenfranchise some people, right? Those who will not be able to get some of the requirements, guarantors and the rest of them. How many students have access to a level 12 officer? You know, you are right there in Aligidi Akoko, close to my place. You are right there in the riverine area of Lagos State, and no member of your family is working in civil service. You don't have a judge. You don't have, you know. So I would say so that we do not, because with due respect, I think what I've just said now is actually antithetical to the purpose of this committee, which is to see that we have early implementation of this project. What I will be requesting that to be commended to this committee will be that go work within the law. I remember I said that of the funding requirements of this project, yes, some may have constitutional issues, some others may not. You know, but meanwhile, this body has the power to convene and say, we convey and we want to give supplementary budget for this particular project. It is within your power. And for anybody, they say it's better to plan. Whoever fails to plan plans to fail. So it's better for us to have it ready like this. Then if there are some legal nuances, if there are legal issues that need to be taken care of, the National Assembly is over to you. But within what we have done, what has been done by you and our predecessor in office, that is the past National Assembly, you know, what we should do is that let's look at how we can work within this. And I must assure you also that what we as technical committee has actually done is to work within this law while we're also presenting this amendment to you. Of all the, assuming we have 1 million students in Nigeria, of the 1 million students, if we have 110 able to access this, you, government will have seen to have commenced. Then in the process of working on this, you now see all the teething problems, the major problems. It is then that is easy. You know, so there's a particular bird. They say, try it is the mother of okere, a type of bird. You know, if you try it, you know what the issues are. But if we don't try it, we'll not know what the issues are. So I'll be requesting the committee that rather than leave us with a stillbirth, be the vehicle that will give the fillip to the achievement of the purpose of this act signed by the president while you work on the amendment. You know, and we can assure you that we are all ready to go with the committee on the recommendation on how we will proceed with our job.
Well, I must appreciate your insight into the whole letters. It is far ahead of our ministry. So it's a nice one coming from your end. However, thank God I noticed something from your conversation, your presentation. You appear to be from the real core Yoruba end. And if you are coming from that, I want to believe strongly too that you know what a lot of people face in the villages. And that takes me to the issue of access. When you are measuring the maybe about 1%, just only 1% that want access to smartphone and all the rest, I can tell you that as of today, they are more than that. especially our students in the rural areas. So what I'm saying without wasting much of our time is that the access, I'm not even talking about the guarantors now, where you are referring to Rivera and all the rest that they might now have whatever. Because some of us that are on the field, we know what we pass through. Even when we are organizing jam for them, we are organizing the classes and all the rest, we know how we go through. You go and organize and you go and start bringing them from their various homes to come and assess, just even filling their forms. They call their profile and all the rest. It takes a whole lot of effort. So this loan now, I hope it won't pass through the same process again. I want you to make sure that the access, you are talking about process flow. See, make it as seamless as possible, effortless as possible, so that every Nigerian student, irrespective of smart whatever, please, the technology you are designing, make it very friendly to everybody, most especially the rural students. Some of us are from rural area, we know what they pass through, we know what they experience. So that's what I want you to add into your process flow. Please, thank you.
CBN, in your presentation, I like the way you are so passionate about the work you are doing.